Let's take drawing seriously. What we're going to be doing is going through a breakdown of our drawings, alright? Now, we are started with still life drawings, so let's see if we can understand how to appropriately break these drawings down. We're going to be starting with our first submission with a picture sent in by Zania Thompson. Now, Ms. Thompson has selected this item to do her still life drawing of. Now, class, I promise you that if you work with me along these breakdowns, I will show you how to do this 3D breakdown of any item using the same techniques. Alright? So, all you would need to do is to work along with me so that we can identify how we can take a regular everyday item or any everyday item and do a 2D drawing of it, do a 3D drawing of it, and also do these designs with computer aided software. Alright? So work along with me and we will develop these processes together. So as I add new detail to my 2D format, I will be adding more detail to my 3D format. That way, you can see how both will develop. But I cannot do this without you. So after each submission, I will create the updates and the upgrades. Alright? So I do hope you will find this interesting and very useful. Now, the first approach we have to do when we have any object to draw is to identify the position in which to turn our paper, to identify the screen or the view we are capturing this item on. Now you will see that Ms. Thompson's picture is in a portrait format. Alright? Now, from time to time, we might have our paper turned in a landscape format. Now, what we need to do is to ensure that the paper that we're drawing on or the surface that we're drawing on is turned in the exact dimension as the object that we are drawing. Okay? So that is our first step. Ensure that your surface or your paper is turned to match the view of what you are seeing. In our next step, our main aim is to identify the shapes that we can identify in our observed item. Okay? Now, we have our frame and our paper turned in the correct way. Now we need to identify that our position of the items we want to capture are in the same format. Okay? So, our highest point is noted. So what we have to do is to indicate where that highest point on our surface will be. Once we've identified both points, then we move to our next points coming down. Alright? So we have identified where the leaf on the left touches the edge or the side of the paper. So we want to identify that we're keeping note or keeping track of this. Now, you don't have to put points down, but one area I always identify with is keeping a visual identification of where each mark or each point is going to be. That way, I'll be able to capture my item correctly. Now, you will notice that the paper or the area I'm transferring the drawing to is larger than the image that I'm copying. Now, this method works no matter the size that you're going to be transferring to. What we're doing here is just ensuring that each reference point is identified. Now, once we have our reference points, we need to know where the base, the main selection of our item will be. Now, in this case, our base is the pot, all right? The pot that this plant is placed in. Now, once we have identified that, there's a second area we must take notice of: our spaces. All right. Now, how far is this object from the bottom? So we identify that connection. So once we identify how far that square is from the bottom, then we're going to be identifying where we place our first shape to give the base from where we start. All right. Now, our next area is to identify our starting shape from the base. Now, you will notice that the 2 points, left and right, will give us that horizontal connection. Now, they are wider than our pot, so we have to go in a diagonal format to ensure they go towards the pot. Okay? We will also seem to have that triangular dimension at the top as well. So putting it in, I noticed that we have these 3 points, which will give us a triangle at the top as well. But would I be using a triangle? No, not really. Now, why do I not use a triangle? And why would I use a rectangle instead of a triangle? My reason for doing that, you will notice that as we go to the plant that's at the top, there are no leaves sticking out almost to the edge of the paper that will require us moving a diagonal in. The leaves, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves, and 1, 2, 3 flower buds on the left and 2 flower buds on the right. Now, none of these items stretch so far as to create that diagonal line moving in. They're all shaped, or they can all fit in a rectangular shape. So that's the reason for my rectangle. The last section that we looked on is that there's a base that the spot sits on. So for that base, I'm using a rectangle. Now you can see where that line is going across the pot. You will also identify that the line is also visible going across the pot in the picture. All right. So that is just our breakdown. Now, what we will do from this section is to identify that everything fits on your paper. So before we do any further details, let's check the correct use of proportion, which is the combination or the relation of one part to the next. And let's focus on our emphasis. Where are the most interesting parts of this picture? And the last thing we're looking on is also our balance, that each side has sufficient space that all items can be fitted into. All right. So guys, this is all I've been expecting for the breakdown of our drawings. So once our submissions are correct, then I will start to share with you our details. All right. Now it's up to you to ensure that everyone gets the work in so we can see how we can break this into a detailed drawing. All right, so see you at the next demonstration, and I await your submissions.